Hey YouTube, welcome to Ask a Business Analyst. Today's question comes from Chloe. Her question is, how does a salary change? Is it based on firm size or your experience? Also, how quickly does your salary increase? So your salary will change, especially if you're entry level, based on how quickly you can essentially prove your ability to work independently and effectively. I already kind of made a video explaining the progression of a business analyst career using the analogy of cooking, so I won't go too deep into it, but essentially when you start cooking, you have no idea what you're doing, and you're essentially having to follow that recipe step by step, and you really can't do anything on your own. This is kind of how you are when you start your career. And at this point, you're just still working up to earning what you actually are making at an entry level salary, because when you first start, you're not really being super productive. And then eventually you get to the point where you've done the recipe enough times that you can kind of do it on your own without much guidance. And you can kind of follow the cookie cutter, and you only really need guidance for like nuanced situations. And at this point, you're really earning the full amount of your starting salary, really. After that, you'll likely start to become more independent, and you'll only need guidance for super nuanced situations. And you may even be given responsibility for either your own small project or a smaller portion of a larger program. And at this point, this is when you can start having those conversations about, hey, maybe I should be able to earn a little bit more than the entry level salary. But again, it depends on the type of company and how they progress you through the different levels or grades or whatever they call it at the firm or company. Then once you've had enough experience, you kind of are able to run the show, and somebody can say, hey, we have this project. We want you to go be the BA for the project, and that's all the guidance that they need to give you, and you can hit the ground running, and you just go in there and do your thing. At this point, you're probably going to have a pretty significant salary jump because you're a true blue business analyst and you can work independently, and you, for the most part, know what you're doing. You probably still have some mistakes to make in your career. However, for the most part, you can reach a fairly successful outcome. And then finally, you'll get to the point where you can lead other business analysts. So you've had enough experience that you've made all the mistakes. You can see mistakes before they happen, and you can help new business analysts by guiding them on what tasks they should be doing and when and whatnot. And this is really the top tier of lead business analyst, or rather you still having the title of business analyst. After this point, you're really going to start going into, senior manager, director, and whatnot. But as a kind of independent contributor, this is kind of the top of that. So when you consider that progression, and I highly recommend you watch the other video when I talk about the progression in a little bit more detail, your salary will go up. Some companies use grades, some companies use some kind of title system, whatever it may be, but those title systems or those grades are really how much independence and responsibility can we give you and trust that you'll do a good job. And as you move up those rungs, your salary should increase with that. And usually that involves building relationships with people, so knowing who to ask and when, so you don't always have to go to somebody else and say, oh, I don't know what to do here, who should I talk to? Knowing who you should talk to, building trust in that you've done things in the past and you were successful, so people trust that you can do a good job. Building that domain knowledge, so you kind of start to know the ins and outs of the space that you work in, so you don't have to ask a question every single time you're presented with something new. And then just also sharpening that BA skill set in interviewing people, facilitating meetings, creating models, creating diagrams, all the things around being a good business analyst. So the faster you can move through that, the faster you'll climb up whatever ladder you're in your situation, and the faster your salary will grow. I've seen people move through that progression very quickly, and because they were very dedicated and they decided that free time wasn't a thing that they wanted. And I've seen people really take their time, move up that progression when they're comfortable with their salary. They don't take on many additional pressures because they're making good money and they're happy with where they are, and it doesn't take them a lot of effort to perform at that level, so it gives them a lot of time to do other things outside of work. So it really just depends on your own priority and how quickly you want to move up the ladder. I hope that was helpful. If you have any additional questions, obviously leave them in the comments and I'll either answer you there or I'll create a new video just like this one. And I'll also add a few new resources in the description for ways you can leave me comments and interact with me. And as always, thanks for watching.